What is linguistics? Well, to answer that question, let me put it to you this way. First of all, in a nutshell, it's the study of language. We study any empirical phenomenon related to human language. And by empirical phenomenon, I mean anything that can be understood, that we can get to the truth of through observation, through scientific process. In other words, we approach language, we study language scientifically, objectively. And our goal, like the goal of so many studies that go on university campuses, is to better understand what it means to be human. And language is something that sets humans apart from all other life forms. So in that way, it's a very good window to the human mind. The main goal of this video is to demonstrate that you know a lot about your native language. And by native language, I mean the language that you began acquiring from the day you were born. You're surrounded by people talking. Your parents talk around you and to you, your siblings. You're surrounded by friends and acquaintances who are talking. And so from the time you're born, you begin acquiring language, your native language, subconsciously, without any real effort. You just absorb the language. And in that way, you internalize the rules of the language without even being conscious that you have done so. The first example I want to give you, these are sentences that were used in a study of preschool children. So these were children who had no education in language, they could not read or write, and they were given these 5 sentences. And then they were shown pictures to see if they truly understood them. And what we see is that 4 of these have something in common, and 1 of them is different. So let me read the sentences. The Ninja Turtle ate pizza while his arch-rival danced. His arch-rival danced while the Ninja Turtle ate pizza. While his arch-rival danced, the Ninja Turtle ate pizza. While he danced, the Ninja Turtle ate pizza. He danced while the Ninja Turtle ate pizza. Now, what I'm interested in is these third-person masculine singular pronouns. And in particular, I'm interested in whether or not they can refer back to the Ninja Turtle, or they can refer to the Ninja Turtle, I should say. And what we see is that in the first one, certainly, the Ninja Turtle ate pizza while his arch-rival danced. Now, granted, it's not obligatory that we link those two, but it's possible. So the Ninja Turtle and his can refer to that same individual. So it could be the Ninja Turtle's arch-rival who danced. All right, and we also can see the same thing in the second one, as well as the third one. And in the fourth one, the he can also refer to the Ninja Turtle. But in the last one, that's simply not possible. And children from a very young age already have acquired that fact. And so the linguist's job is to understand what underlies that intuition. What are the rules that we have internalized that tell us that he or his can refer to the Ninja Turtle in the first 4 sentences, but not in the 5th? Here are a couple other examples of things that we take for granted without thinking about them, and certainly were never taught to us. So we have rhetorical questions like, who on earth can stop LeBron? And we know that that means something along the lines of LeBron is unstoppable. Or we can say, here comes my bus, meaning I can see my bus, it's over there and it's moving towards me, right? Okay, so these are pretty normal, everyday sorts of sentences. But what I think is interesting about them is they can be embedded in more complex sentences. So we can say the Lakers will win because who on earth can stop LeBron, right? Or we could say, I'm leaving because here comes my bus. Now, these sentences may not win you any style points in an English class, but they're certainly possible sentences of English. These are the sorts of utterances that you're likely to hear on a day-to-day basis. Now, notice that in those two cases, we preceded the original utterances with because, a subordinating conjunction. But there's plenty of other subordinating conjunctions, one of which is if. And I want you to notice something here. It doesn't work with if. The Lakers will win if who on earth can stop LeBron? I'm going to give that one a little pound symbol, meaning that it's not an acceptable sentence of English. It just doesn't work for us. And likewise, we can't put the here comes my bus after an if. Let me give a pound symbol in front of that one as well. Again, we understand that intuitively. A linguist's job is to take data like that and try to understand what that tells us about the underlying grammar of the language. Here's another one that children don't make mistakes with. So, for example, Grant is freezing, perfectly normal sentence. But Grant is colding is really not an English sentence. Let me put an asterisk. An asterisk in linguistics means that it's not a possible sentence of the language. We don't say Grant is colding, and children don't say that because they've already internalized that there's a difference between adjectives or verbs. So we can say Grant is freezing because freeze is a verb. But cold is an adjective, so we don't say Grant is colding. Now, a preschool child doesn't know what a verb or an adjective is, but they've already internalized that there's a difference. So in other words, they've already begun categorizing words by part of speech. That's something that you know before you ever begin school. Likewise, a child isn't going to say Gertrude happies because happy is an adjective. You don't conjugate it like a verb. You would say Gertrude is happy because happy is an adjective. Similarly, though, you would say Gertrude smiles, but you wouldn't say Gertrude is smile because smile is not an adjective, it's a verb. The final examples I want to give are just about the sound sequences of language. In this case, we also have internalized what are possible sound sequences in English and what are not. So I'm going to pronounce these nonsense words, some of which are possible words of English, some of which are impossible. I want you to think about which are which. I'm going to pronounce them for you, and as I pronounce them, I want you to think about whether that could be a possible word of English. Could we add that to the lexicon of English? Mall, mall, slig, slig, tlin, tlin, brud, brud, booze, booze, frake, frake. Now, none of those were hard for me to pronounce, but I think you'll notice that half of them just simply aren't possible words of English. And what this all gets at is that we, as speakers of the language, and particularly native speakers of the language, have internalized the rules, the grammar of the language. And what linguists do is we try to take that subconscious knowledge that we acquired and bring it to a conscious level.